Hi, this is Will Steele with All in VR. I'm all in VR. Are you? So today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, or I guess elephant in VR chat room, which is Immersed, and specifically the debacle with the Visor IRL in real life reveal slash demo, which really wasn't a demo other than getting to just, touch the device and look through each lens one eye at a time, looking at a static video that wasn't even stereo. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, and part of what needs to be unpacked is something I haven't really brought up a lot or talked about, which is my time at Immersed about 3-4 years ago. I did work at Immersed. I was tasked with addressing their video streaming quality issues, which there were a number of issues, which I was quite well equipped to tackle. But through a number of things and a number of dysfunctions within the company, I didn't end up staying. And I think for that reason, I'm not very surprised at all with what's happened. Overall this time, kind of looking at the gimmicky marketing that sometimes comes across as scammy, and the, as well as the investor follow-ups, like keeping in people who have invested money into Immersed, what's happening with their investment, yada, yada, yada. Also very kind of just often seems kind of scammy, especially when you start talking about like this, virtual real estate opportunity that was there, which really didn't go anywhere. And I'm not surprised. I think myself, as well as a lot of other people, were kind of looking at them cross-eyed with that, like, where is this coming from? So yeah, it just kind of seemed like a scammy way to make some money, right? So what have I learned? Well, I've learned that I'm not at all surprised. So let's go back and talk a little bit about where my perspective comes from. So I ended up working at Immersed, and during my time, I noticed that the development of each different piece of Immersed. So you had the piece that was in the headset, you had the piece that was the app that ran on the various platforms, Apple, Linux, and Windows at the time. And you also had the pieces for basically creating the virtual displays. You kind of had these different pieces. You had different engineers working on each piece. And I had to work with a specific engineer to deal with the video issues, as that dealt mostly with the what ran on the desktop to stream the video to the headset. It actually had to work on both pieces really at the end of the day, and I had to deal with a particular engineer whose name I will not name, but it was kind of a walled garden. So first, beyond just having each engineer work in their silos, which can be a good thing, but you do need some kind of overarching, usually person or management, that understands what everybody's doing and make sure that the right hand at least can coordinate with the left hand, make sure things kind of work well together. Or if there's issues, if you have a new person like myself coming in who needs to get information from one of those engineers to work on a project, then it needs to not be like pulling teeth. And for me, it was kind of like, it was pulling teeth, and I was kind of denigrated just for asking questions. I'm the kind of person that I always ask questions, no matter how much I already think I know the answer or how silly it might seem. I'm a person to ask questions, even if they might seem obvious, just because I'd rather be sure why something is the way it is. So eventually things came to a head, and there was a lot of friction, and that was a difficult situation. But there were a lot of other great people that I really enjoyed working with, who are also engineers, and other people on the team. So there are definitely other great people, but I had to deal with one person who just was not pleasant, in my opinion, to work with at all. In addition to language barrier, I think there also might have been a culture barrier somewhat. But yeah, so that happens. And on top of that, there was this whole yeah, bro, you go, bro. you're a beast, bro. Beast mode, like all this, like just bro stuff. Like, what am I, on the Jersey Shore or in a startup? It was just a little much. It's not really my style. I'd rather just like talk like a normal person and solve problems like an engineer. I would come with essentially a physics background. So physics and engineering, my background, we're not going like bro this, bro that all the time, you know, so whatever. It's a little bit of culture. I think that was mostly kind of propagated by Renji because he's kind of that bro-y type. Not quite a huge fan of that. But, you know, went through that whole thing and I could deal with that. But on top of that, you know, you have a young founder who's still kind of, you know, very new at being a CEO. I just remember seeing him then and even now making tons of mistakes that basically a novice CEO or novice founder makes, you know, but not, I mean, maybe not all make, but some certainly do, especially probably if you don't have a business background perhaps, or maybe even if you do, I don't know, but you know, you really need to focus and stay the course. You can't be, in my opinion, you know, it's okay to be agile and to make changes, but if you're making drastic direction changes and abandoning other things that are important, just for a short term kind of like showing off, that becomes very distracting. And I think that's part of, even if some of the things may seem kind of scammy, I think that's maybe part of where it comes from, but that can also be your downfall, you know, not being able to focus. And then perhaps he's somewhat ADD. I mean, I'm ADD, but what I have learned is it's very important to be able to follow through and focus on things, to be able to set long-term goals and visions. Even as a startup founder where you got to be agile, you really need to have kind of, you know, these roadmaps where there's core areas that you're kind of moving forward on and not getting too sidetracked on little things just because if you want to either stay relevant or drum up attention or traction. Well, traction is always going to actually get traction, but you don't want to suffer for the things that are also holding you back. So, you know, long story short, I ended up working on another project other than what I was hired for because I said, yes, I could do it, which was an Android app, and having to deal with this engineer who was very difficult to get information from, who then also put constraints on how I needed to build it, when originally it was supposed to be a piece of rapid prototyping, you know, in 2 weeks to really get something delivered. And his constraints, based on how new I was in the learning curve and the difficulty of getting information from him, kind of made that nearly impossible. And it all eventually came to a head. And the biggest reason it came to a head was trying to get through that issue and continue to move forward. And I was met with Renji telling me that he had had conversations with me and told me things the things that he wanted me to do that basically never were said. Now, he might have said, like, you know, do you think you want to do this, blah, 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 blah. And I'd say, well, no, I think it makes sense to finish where I am because I'm very close to the finish line, yada, yada, yada. And it was kind of like, okay. So it was never like, you know, yes, you should, you know, I want you to change course. You need to work on this, come off of that. You know, it wasn't very clear. It was just kind of like, as I referred to it as when talking to him about it, as like a Jedi mind trick kind of thing, where instead of telling someone exactly what you want to do, it's like, well, we'll try to lead you towards what we think you should want to do. It's like, you know, like, right, you remember Office Space, you know?
If you want me to wear 37 pieces of flair like your pretty boy over there, Brian, why don't you just make the minimum 37 pieces of flair? There's my flair, okay? And this is me expressing myself, okay?
Just tell me what you want and I will do it. And so it was kind of this thing where I guess maybe in his mind, with his Jedi mind tricks, that he thought he was telling me what to do, but it was not telling me what to do. It was just totally effed up. And I remember when I referred to it as Jedi mind trick, I'm like, then this is what, you never told me anything, you made certain suggestions, but, and he's like, oh, well, that's the way we do things here. It's like, oh my God, just shoot me now. Like, you know, so it was maybe partly misconception or on his part, but also maybe, I mean, he was very, very adamant that he had certain conversations with me, and maybe in his mind he does, and maybe that's maybe based on the way he communicates, he did in his mind, but yeah, you didn't, Renji, if you're watching this. You didn't communicate effectively. And, you know, that could possibly be part of an issue here with everything that's gone on. You know, not communicating effectively could certainly cause the kind of issues you're talking about now. Lack of adequate personnel structure and hierarchy to make sure that projects come to completion, especially engineering projects. So there's a lot of things that could have led up to this, but it's just so many red flags, from the scammy marketing to, you know, I mean, like, just, you know, okay, let's just switch back over to here just for a second, right? So let's go to like one of these things, right? So we're just going to go, just pick one of these, right? So we'll pick this right here, right? So, you know, the TV taped on the ceiling and it hits him in the face. Okay, sure, maybe that's funny once. No product demo, just gimmicky.
You are defective.
Gimmicky crap. It's the same thing, just a different iteration.
Add a little bit of,
like, just a different video. Like, I mean, if you've got to make, here we go, third one. If you've got to make this many iterations of a video, I mean, that's problematic, right? Like, how many, oh my God, just so many of these same, you know, that was a little bit different. But it's just, I mean, these are like, these are like Temu commercials. They're like Temu commercials, basically, is what I look at them as. So there's that. I mean, if you go, I mean, okay, something else that's something else that is a little sus. Okay, so they've made 1 million subscribers now, right? It says this, when was this? This was July 25th, so, you know, a couple months ago, 1 million subscribers, right? So let's go. Okay, so they do have, if you go to the Immersed, Immersed XR, they do have 1.2 million subscribers, but they have 241 videos. And if you look at, like, you know, like, they have thousands of views. There's nothing that really, to me, where the millions of views really add up. Like, there's a couple with 500,000 views, and there's one with 8.4 million views. I don't even know why. Why does this one? Let's see what this one is that has 8.4 million views. One specific one has 8.4 million views. No idea why. I mean, you know, really, do you just have to smack down a flat screen? Okay, so, you know, the only reason is, to me, it makes me wonder how much of these, you know, again, one of these stupid iterations, 1.1 million views, like, some of these it's just iterative campaign marketing, right? Like 161 million views. I don't know, man. Some of these things are so, when you iterate this many times on the same video, I don't trust, like, that. Oh my God, there's so many of these shorts, so many of them. It's like some weird marketing campaign. It's that, again, just looking at it seems a little scammy to me. It doesn't really seem like quality views in my opinion. I don't know where some of those, you can kind of buy views and, you know, through marketing companies and stuff. So how legitimate is that? I don't know. It's a little disingenuous, and who cares if you reach 1 million subscribers? You're not, you know, you're not really a YouTuber. You're not a YouTube channel. So anyway, I digress from that. But there's lots of other examples of this kind of funny, scammy marketing. Where was another one? There's a whole bunch of these, right? It's just, you know, we know what Immersed is, but there's a whole bunch that just kind of seem a little cheesy. Like, oh, we can't believe somebody could, confirm lighter than iPhone, right? Okay, so it's lighter than iPhone, right? And that's a whole nother thing that's a little suspect. So they're a little bit under 200 grams, right? If we actually look at the visor weight, It's yeah, so it's like 187. It says 50 grams heavier than, it's actually more than 50 grams heavier than the Beyond, the big screen Beyond, but it's almost 200 grams. That's not particularly light. And if you're, if you're going to have that on your head, right? So let's look over to the visor. All the weight's on the front part of your head. We already saw some demos, and in those video demos, like not demos, just hands-on demos, right? If that's all on the top part of your head, right? If that's all just weighing right on the top part of your head. So for example, right? Here's something actually lighter. This is about the weight of the big screen Beyond, I think. And this is all in the front, right? So you've got all this weight in the front, and it's not too bad right now, but give yourself a half an hour, can start giving you a migraine, headache, sinus pain, like all sorts of things, like about in a half an hour. I can get through it, but like an hour is probably the max. And so in order to get something that's so front heavy to be above the bridge of your nose and be comfortable and everything else, it's got to be adjusted just right, as the placement has to be just perfect. And let's talk about that, right? So what else happens at the in real events? Well, beyond not demoing a product at all, they also did not, they didn't have the head strap. Like probably the most important thing, if you're going to be doing a hands-on demo and you're not going to have an actual demo of your application inside the headset, then at the very least have the frickin' strap that's going to be on it, because it's definitely, people notice how heavy it is when it was sitting on the bridge of their nose. I saw some of the people talking about it, and they definitely could tell how heavy that is. So what does that mean? Well, I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means for them. I don't know what it means for the people that have pre-ordered for this thing. Not to mention, also a little kind of suspect is the fact that it's $400, and then you got to have a subscription for I think 2 or 3 years or something like that of the Immersed application. So it's kind of like it's being subsidized by the subscription. A little bit scammy. I mean, at least if you're a new company, I get it. Like if you're T-Mobile or Verizon, like they do this stuff with phones all the time. But you shouldn't necessarily be trying to copy the big dogs at this point. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's already risky enough trying to just pivot to hardware. My theory is that they pivoted to hardware because of their special acquisition company that basically bought them or merged. They say merging, but so they merged with this basically a parent company, right? And they get stock in the parent company, and then they get operating capital from that parent company, that SPAC, Special Purpose Acquisition Company or Corporation. And they may have wanted them to have more intellectual property, because software patents are not that valuable for the most part. I mean, you can get them, but they're not nearly as valuable as a hardware patent. So perhaps this was a pathway to get some hardware patents, even though I believe that this particular piece of hardware, the visor, most likely is not a, how would you say, is not a, let's take a look again. And it's not like this is like an in-house built thing. I think like Big Screen Beyond was probably a little more in-house. So my theory is that this is probably, I don't know if it's like Huawei or something. I can see this being like a Huawei device that has been customized for them, but then can also be sold to any other number of people. And they may have design differences, and some may have certain hardware the others don't. But I don't think that this is going to be that novel by the time it comes out, or at least shortly thereafter. So, while it may be the only one that works with Immersed, and the question is how, powered by Qualcomm, patent pending. I don't even know what that, patent pending for what? So it's patent pending, they don't even have patents yet, but there you go. I was just thinking, it's probably so they can file for patents, so they must have some patents in there. I don't think they're that amazing, but it'll be interesting to see. I'll have to look. It would be interesting to see what patents that they may be trying to file. They may not be visible until they're filed, though. So we'll see. But yes, it's 4K screens per eye, right? It says that. So it'll probably be decent, but how decent? We just don't know yet. And because it's new, there's bound to be bugs. It right now doesn't seem like it's going to be usable on anything other than their Immersed platform. So, we'll see what happens. But I mean, yes, this was their in real life event was a crap show. You didn't have any hands-on demo. People had to wait longer than anticipated. Okay, fine. That you can give a pass for that. But you didn't have like the head strap. I don't understand how you could have allowed this to happen. Like, how does that happen? You should be able to have, if you had a working demo, this is what I don't understand. If they actually had some kind of working demo application that ran on the headset, you should always keep something that works. You always need to keep a version or two back. With if it's firmware and software, they should have had a couple demo units standing by with previous iterations of software that they knew worked for sure. And if they wanted to deploy the latest version and have more running for the demo, and that's what screwed them, they should at least had, they still could have done a demo if they had a couple that were still working. They definitely. So what exactly happens? I don't know, based on how, kind of upfront they are about things. And that's the other thing. They're a little bit just shady in the information that they give us. Like they said, like by tech giants for the longest time. We didn't even know who these tech giants were. I'm still not sure if we know exactly who all of them are. I think, one being Qualcomm, but again, I don't know. I think that's as far as we may know. They just make the chipset, so that doesn't really say anything. I mean, I can go build my own Qualcomm-based VR headset if I theoretically wanted to. I just feel like some context is important to help people decide, whether they want to put their money into this product before there's even a valid demo, right? Because there's supposed to be some kind of demo. So let's go to that really quick. That's what I wanted to do. So we're going to go to this demo. And we're going to, let's see if we can find it, right? It was in my email from Immersed not too long ago. Let's see if I can find it. First look at Visor in action. Okay. All right. Keynote, first intent behind each decision. Now you can see the first glimpse of the Immersed app running on Visor. Okay, let's see what this shows us. This shows us that I am unable to view the posts because my account owner limits who can view their posts. Okay, so I can't view anything. So I guess I've been banned by them a while ago. So I'm pretty sure I can get around this if I just go to a different web browser that's not signed in and copy and paste into here and bingo. Okay, so we got no audio. We don't get it. Okay, we're going into one of the eyepieces and we're seeing a screen floating in space. Now, it's hard to tell. Okay, so they're turning. I mean, my God, that's all they're going to show people? So that's it. That's their demo of the software running. One screen. That's very, well, I will say that was quick. Like Renji says, well, yeah, it's it is too little too late. I do wish that just, my gosh, the decisions that get made there are just mind-boggling. They were mind-boggling before, but it's grown exponentially mind-boggling. I would be, if I stayed there, if I had the opportunity to have stayed there, it would have been a nightmare. I think I do care what goes on in a company, having been a founder myself, and just seeing so many mistakes getting made, probably in the end would have driven me nuts, and I don't think I would have stayed. It's just seeing that. Between that, the weird real estate and VR thing, there's just the scammy marketing, all these kind of like investor emails that all hyped up that would come out like to people who had invested money and trying to get them to invest more, and then also trying to assure them that their investment is going to be something they'll be able to get back at some point. I don't think anybody even knows where that is right now. You know, I'll have to talk to somebody I know who gets these emails, who did invest money, who's curious about how all that is going, especially now being acquired by a SPAC. How does that affect things? There's just so many red flags that would make me think that this is at risk of becoming vaporware. You know, on the bright side, well, I mean, on the bright side for the SPAC, I guess, and I think why they probably wanted hardware and patents is because if this doesn't work out, then at least they can walk away and maybe sell some patents to somebody. Because patents, especially hardware patents, for something like VR, could go for good money. So, you know, any kind of investment company definitely looks for things think of it as a form of security on the company if it doesn't do well, right? So that's my theory, that they were kind of urged to do some hardware when they were acquired by the SPAC or merged with the SPAC, whatever. The SPAC was this particular SPAC, the Maquia. They were delisted. Let's go back. They were delisted from the NASDAQ, right? So, yeah, we know what that they did there, but there was something that got delisted from the NASDAQ. Let's see here. Maquia Capital Corp delisted. Student notice listing qualifications. Okay, so they were delisted from NASDAQ, right? Because they need to complete one or more business combinations. I don't know exactly what that is. A special purpose company must require business combinations. I don't know what is a business combination. That I don't know. I did take some business classes in college. So we want to have an aggregate fair market value of at least 80% of the value of the deposit account. Yeah. I'm not sure what that means. I'll find out, but I don't really know what a business combination is. Perhaps my wife may know. She's in that kind of space, not in the investor space, but she kind of knows essentially what banks do and what they require, and used to work at the Fed, so she's a good person. She may know what a business combination requirement for the NASDAQ is. But anyway, not a good thing, I imagine, if you're delisted from the NASDAQ. And the company's new. Only from 2021 was when they filed with the SEC. Or at least, I guess they filed with the SEC in the US. They're a US and Mexican company, so I guess theoretically they could have existed in Mexico for some time. Again, you know, you can research all this, and I would, especially if you have money in the company, and find out what your options are for exiting if you want to do that. But, you know, the risk may be worth it for you, and SPACs just don't have a good track record of pumping out successful startups. They kind of have the least success in that regards. If I would have been Reggie, I would not have gone into that. I would have bet on myself more than a SPAC. But again, there's a lot of things that he has done that I would not do. So take that with a grain of salt. Maybe you love his style. Maybe you love the way he does things. He does do things in a, let's say, a different way. But I do think he has some lessons to learn. I think he needs to focus, get more organized if he's going to make this thing succeed. If it can even be done at this time, existing within a SPAC, that they're not kind of on their own anymore. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Hopefully this didn't go too long. I don't know how long how far in we are, but hopefully it gives you some insight into what I think, based on my experience working with Immersed, what I think of this whole thing that's happened. And really, like I said, that X post, only on X, that's not very reassuring. Like, you know, you got after what you failed to do at that launch, you got to show more than that. I mean, that would, if I put my money down on this device and that was the response, this like 15-second clip of really one window floating in space, that would make me very angry. That definitely would. So, you know, Renji, if you're listening, you've got a big hill to climb back up, because you really screwed the pooch on this one. Maybe you can recover from it. Maybe you can't. Don't let me get in your head. Just figure it out. But, you know, you need to do more than that if you're going to convince people that this thing is A, coming out, and B, that it's going to be worth buying. because plenty of people are going to wait till it comes out. And, you know, again, like sending out emails that like, ooh, people are going to, tangenting again, but, you know, if you look at, oh, was this visor, might, immersed visor might sell out, right? Let's go here. Oh yeah, so many visors left. Where was this? Limited visors left. Like, what was it? Oh, there will only ever be a limited number of Founders Edition visors as Immersed makes history in unveiling visor at Immersed in Real Life 2024 next week. Many people pre-ordered it as a collector's item, piece of history, just as much as a device for their productivity. Like, really? I mean, I don't really think it's a piece of history. Come on, man. Like, piece of history, like maybe the original, you know, like the original few headsets that came out, maybe. But like, I mean, even if it's a great device, it's not a piece of history. I mean, you know, big screen beyond is not a piece of history. This is not going to be, you know, the Founders Edition. It's so much gimmicky marketing. It's tiring. There's tons of red flags, and hopefully this gives you some insights and you get something out of it. So I'll be doing a lot more streams for All in VR coming up soon. I haven't really been doing much because I have another YouTube channel that I've been doing a lot of filming for, which is DIY Boat Life. I spent a lot of time on my boat. I used to live on, my wife and I lived on our boat for 6 years. I lived on a boat for, well, you know, for 12 plus years. So I'm really into boating. And so I don't know, I guess whichever channel ends up taking off one day, I feel like the boating has more promise than VR, but I am passionate about VR. I just don't do as much, and I'm not as involved in VR during the summer months. But now, since it's getting colder out, fall and winter are coming, I'm going to start spending a lot more time in VR. And as I finish editing my videos for DIY Boat Life, then I'll start filming more for All in VR and hopefully releasing on a more regular schedule. Trying to kind of hone my filming process. You see, this is something live, so I can switch from camera to camera, so I don't have to edit it. I can go to my computer, I can switch, you can see I can switch to this camera now and do stuff on my screen. I can go to back to my other camera, just using vMix essentially, and using NDI. It's a great little thing. Actually, let me just show you this. Let's see here. Let's see if I go to here. I was going to bring up my screen again, but I'll just show you. I got this little, as I've had this for a long time, and I just haven't done anything with it for a while, but you can see this is my monitor setup, so I can monitor my stream. I've got my GH5 camera with the ring lights, and I've got a NewTek NDI encoder. So everything's via NDI. I've got an NDI app on my phone, and yeah, so I've got an NDI app on my phone coming into my computer. I'm doing this all live, and this way I can, you know, I don't have to go back and edit it very much. I'll be able to edit a little bit, but I'll be editing the main content. So there you go. Insight from Will Steele, who used to work at Immersed. So have a great week, great weekends. I look forward to creating more content for All in VR. If you like boats, go check out my DIY Boat Life page. I think it's at DIY Boat Life, like YouTube at youtube.com/ or u.uyout2t.be or whatever, you know, / at DIY Boat Life. Should get you there. But yeah, so this is Will Steele with All in VR. I'm All in VR. Are you?